Hey, what's going on, y'all? Hopefully, y'all doing well this morning. um, taking care of yourselves, being positive, and being empowered. That's definitely what I strive to do here every day. I do better some days than others. But yeah. Hopefully, you guys are doing well. So I haven't been doing lives a whole lot, but I just kind of doing whenever I can because of different kind of things going on. But last night before I went to bed, I came across this article that I wanted to talk about. It's something I've talked about a couple times already, and I'm glad to talk about it again because I think it's important. It was a an article which I will link to in the description that was on Yahoo News, and it was titled "Environmental Factors, Lifestyle Choices Have Greater Impact on Health Than Genes," study finds. And so basically, all they're saying is the what is collectively referred to as the exposome, which is like the sum total of all of our environmental exposures to things like our exposures to different kind of things in our physical body have a greater impact on our health than our genes. So listen to this sentence that I pulled out of the study that was referenced in this article. So the sentence says, compared with information on age and sex, polygenic risk scores for 22 major diseases explain less than 2 percentage points of additional mortality variation, whereas the exposome explain an additional 17 percentage points. So what is that saying? So it's compared with information. So if you really want to get all the nitty gritty details, you have to look through the study, more thoroughly. But it says so essentially they accounted for age and sex of these people who participated in this study. Um, but compared to the information on age and sex, and I guess how that information impacts, aging and mortality, polygenic risk score. So polygenic, all that means is poly means many, genic has to do with genes. So polygenic means has to do with characteristics that are influenced by two or more genes. So polygenic risk scores for 22 major diseases, and so these are diseases like different cancers and dementia and various diseases of lung, heart, liver. So genetic related or gene related risk scores for 22 major diseases explained less than 2 percentage points of additional mortality variation. So accounting for age and sex, genetics only explain 2 more percentage points of additional mortality variation, like what they might contribute to mortality. Whereas the exposome, which, like I said, is the sum total of environmental exposure that we have, um, which I explain what that means a little bit more in a second, explain an additional 17 percentage points. So let's talk a little bit more about what the exposome is. So I looked up exposome, and so let me read what this definition I came up with here. And so this is let me go to this CDC definition. So listen to this. It says the exposome can be defined as the measure of all the exposures of an individual in a lifetime and how those exposures relate to health. An individual's exposure begins before birth and includes insults from environmental and occupational sources. Okay. And so they mentioned stuff like our environment, like, the physical environment that our bodies are in, diet, lifestyle. Um, let's see. Let's see what else it says here. Okay, let me go here. Let me see what Wikipedia says. Okay, so okay, so check this out. Various definitions of the exposome have been proposed over time, but most emphasize three main components: the external exposome, the internal exposome, and the biological response. This is on Wikipedia, so you can read it yourself. I'll make sure I link to it. Matter of fact, let me copy this while I'm at it. Um, the external exposome includes general external factors such as air pollution, diet, and socioeconomic factors. Socioeconomic, basically that kind of has to do with like our economic standing in the world, stuff like that, as well as specific external factors like chemicals and radiation. The internal exposome comprises endogenous factors, such as hormones, inflammation, oxidative stress, and gut microbiota. Okay, so that's the internal exposome having to do with like what we're exposed to by virtue of our own hormones, by virtue of our own inflammatory response and stress, and our gut microbiome. And finally, the biological response refers to the complex interactions between the external and internal exposome factors and their influence on an individual's physiology and health. So, all that said, bringing it back to the title of this article that I came across, it says that only 2% of mortality variation or additional, I guess you could say, risk to more, like higher mortality risk could be associated with genetics, whereas 17%, so that's like over 5 times more, associated with the exposome. And the thing about the exposome is that a lot of those things can be controlled. Cause here's the thing. So we're very much used to a certain type of thinking that is along the lines of, well, if my dad had it, then that's what I'm going to have. If my mom had it, that's what I'm gonna have. If grandma and them had it, then that's what I'm gonna have. It runs in my family. They were obese, so I was obese. They had blank fill in the blank illness, so I'm going to have fill in the blank illness, or I have a higher risk because of my family history and whatnot. And why? And there is some level of link, or, between genetics and certain diseases and stuff like that. However, again, when you think about the complexity of the exposome, and you think about what even this study is saying, the environment has a much bigger part to play. And the reason why I like to mention that is because there is a potential for empowerment in this. If you understand how much your environment has to play in, how quickly you age, higher risk of early mortality, then you understand I can do a whole lot of things to positively affect my aging, help me to age better, help me to, perhaps increase my longevity, just age well and avoid disease, that kind of thing, you know. So this is empowering to me. This is empowering. And it kind of like it also, however, with it being empowering, it also means that it puts responsibility in our hands. There's a lot that we can control that we may not be used to controlling because of the typical kind of American lifestyle. Um, being one, to be honest, that promotes disease. But again, let's say let me mention again external, like this exposome stuff, air pollution. Now, obviously, if you live in a big city or whatever, you're exposed to this stuff a whole lot more, especially if you like live in the city. You know, I think the further out you live, the better. We're all exposed to some level of air pollution, because of just the nature of this world and all of our automobiles and planes and stuff, in factories and all this kind of stuff. But air pollution, pesticides, which unfortunately are just everywhere, plastics everywhere. Um, but we still have some level of control over some of that stuff. You can affect ultimately where you live. Um, could be harder for some than others, depending on how easy it'd be for you to move away from a place with a lot of air pollution. Um, diet. Obviously, you have a whole lot of control over that. A whole lot of control. Socioeconomic factors. There's a case for your health for, improving your socioeconomic status as well, which is amazing to me. You just kind of think about even health disparities in our country, and how certain kind of health issues tend to be associated with people who have a lower socioeconomic status. And when you think about the fact that junk food is so cheap, and then just different things like that, it's really messed up. To just being honest, it's very, very messed up just thinking about that. But then you have uh other things like radiation and chemicals, you know, I think about even stuff like household chemicals. We can do things to reduce our exposure to those, or radiation, I mean, obviously that has to do with some of the stuff like if somebody works at like a nuclear plant or something like that, but even also stuff like phones and routers and stuff like that. That's why I actually put a timer on our home router so that we can it can turn off and we not be around that stuff all night. Anyhow, and then you have stuff like they say hormones, inflammation, oxidative stress, gut microbiota. All of these things are essentially kind of influenced, at least in part, by some of our actions, some of the things that we do. Even our hormones are influenced by how we eat in our emotional status. Inflammation is influenced by those things also, as well as like, whether or not you move, and your stress levels, you know, tend to be influenced a lot by the way that you interact with the world, the way that you react to things. And I say you, but I really mean we, because me as well. I realize, for example, that I'll increase my stress level whenever depending on what I focus on, especially in today's world with a lot of this weirdness going on. If I start to focus on the news, for example, or if I start to focus on, like, if I have some sort of other situation going on, I start to think about the negative stuff that can happen, then I can start to feel my internal state shifting for the worse, increasing stress levels. And so, saying all that to say, once again, there's so much that you and I can control that will influence our mortality, influence our aging for the better. And genes, we got to stop blaming them. We got to stop blaming them for everything, because there's so much we can control. Even this now, I'm just so glad that I'm talking about this, because it kind of gives me a renewed sense of empowerment, which I hope it's giving you as well. We got to stop blaming stuff on genes. There's so much we can do. It's so much we can do. It always is. It's always so much we can do. And so I just hope and pray that you are empowered today. Look at these resources that I put in the references part of my description, and be empowered. Don't operate off of, well, hey, it's just gonna happen to me because my mom had it. No, that's not the way this stuff works. It's not. People used to think that, but there is so much that can be influenced in your health for the better by you just getting enough sleep, by you exercising every day, by you taking a walk every day. Not only for the exercise but also for your to reduce your stress level, which I'm going to do that today. Rather than us being so worried about our genes and whatnot, because there's a whole lot more to all this stuff than that. Okay, be empowered, y'all. I'm gonna go ahead and let this be it, so I can go ahead and put these things in the description and let you take a look yourself. But be empowered, y'all. Have a great day. Make sure that you subscribe if you're not already subscribed. See y'all next time.